I think that there are two big areas. One is that needs and constant encouragement is to become more aware of the entire score. Too much of the time is spent in a myopic vision of one excerpt, one line of music in preparing for auditions. And those are the students I'm helping primarily, although I'm teaching privately at Indiana. But the main reason I'm there is to get an orchestral training program up and running there. And I'm not the only one there doing this, but the commitment to the whole work is the first thing I try to urge students to take on. Because I can tell, and I've been able to tell over the many years I've heard auditions, I can tell when a student has no idea what else is going on while they're playing. It's painfully clear. It's painfully clear because you can hear there's just a one-dimensional quality to what they're doing. You can hear it because rhythmically they don't sense the counterpoint that might be grinding at the same time as they play this audition, as they play this excerpt. You can sense that there's no involvement in the listening, and it's such a sense of presence of mind that's absent, and it's also a vacancy. There's a vacant quality, and so teaching the score, teaching and playing in lessons, playing along various parts, the bass part, the flute part, whatever happens to be the melodic line while they're learning an excerpt is very common for me. Second big area is rhythm, and rhythm is not nearly developed enough in school, I'd have to say. I mean, I'm even hearing it here where the main problem in ensemble playing is subdivision. And if you can subdivide all the time through every piece of music, you are not only locked in to the mathematical verticality of longest note to the shortest note vertically, so that as things are moving long on top and you're, let's say, in the middle of the rhythmic family of lengths of notes and denominations of notes, you're able to hear that and you're able to hear the smallest below you. If you can hear all of that, you're locked into the ensemble. And it's more difficult when you sit in the back of a section, which a lot of people do. If they don't have that functioning, they're like at the end of a train and they're just being whipped around kind of from side to side. And they're not in the spinal groove of the vertical rhythm. Working with the metronome just seems to bother people. And I can only say this. I mean, unless you're just the exception to the rule, and I mean the big exception to the rule, you just don't have that innate skill unless you really train with it. And I have to say, I just don't offer any opportunity for people not to use it when they're in a lesson with me or they're working with me in a sectional. I'll bring it out. Because I think that to learn it is then to have it for life. And I think people will only understand that once they finally get into auditions and they're not getting there. And if they're lucky, someone will say something to them about, that they rush. They're not really able to sustain a tempo. And it doesn't mean you play mechanically. It just means that you understand how to hold a pulse through the difficulties of, if you take a Beethoven scherzo, like the Third Symphony scherzo, there are a lot of things you've got to do dynamically and articulation-wise in that. And if you can't hold and toe the rope through pianissimo, crescendo to fortissimo, and then with rests in between, you'll never be able to hold your way in a symphony orchestra, professional symphony orchestra. So those are two big issues: understanding the music, learning it, and really developing a really good core rhythmic discipline.